Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something right now. See, sometimes in life, you gotta go silent. Not because you're weak, no, but because your silence is louder than any argument, louder than any apology, louder than any excuse they was ever gonna give you. Now I want you to really sit with this, what he think day by day. When you go silent, see, silence messes with a man. At first he might be cool, might even think he won. She gone quiet. He says, I got peace now. But give it time, baby. Give it a few days. That ego, it starts talking. That guilt, it starts yelling. And your silence, oh, your silence starts echoing like a damn drumbeat in his head. See, you don't always need to scream to be heard. Sometimes the most powerful move you can make is just not saying nothing at all. Today, I'm gonna break down what happens in that mind of his, day by day, when the woman he thought would always be there stopped explaining herself. Let's go. Silence is not weakness, it's strategy. Most people confuse stillness with surrender. They think if you're not clapping back, if you're not texting back, if you're not explaining yourself, you've somehow given up. But the truth is, silence is a calculated move. It's the kind of move people don't see coming, and that's exactly why it's powerful. When you go silent, you stop feeding the situation. You stop giving them the energy they've been draining from you. You take back your control, not by force, but by absence. See, when you argue, when you try to defend yourself, when you keep showing up in conversations that don't respect your voice, you're just spinning your wheels. You're running in place. But when you go silent, you step off that treadmill. You let them sit with their own noise. You let them wrestle with the space you used to fill. That silence speaks louder than your words ever could, because it makes them listen without you having to say a thing. It's not weakness. Weakness is yelling just to be heard. Weakness is chasing someone who ain't looking back. Weakness is over-explaining to someone who's already made up their mind. Strength is having the discipline to say, I'm done talking, not in anger, not in revenge, just in peace. Real power is calm. Real power is quiet. Real power is when you don't have to prove your worth. They start to feel the loss all on their own. That's strategy. That's knowing your value. That's understanding that sometimes silence hits harder than any speech, any text, any goodbye ever could. Day one, he feels relief, false relief. The moment you go silent, he tells himself he finally has peace. No more questions. No more conversations he didn't want to have. No more accountability. He might even feel like he's won. He might smile to himself and say, she finally backed off. That ego kicks in strong on day one. He thinks the silence is compliance. He thinks your quiet means he was right. And in his mind, silence equals victory. He mistakes your calm for closure, your distance for detachment. That first day feels good to him because he's not used to consequences that don't make noise. He's used to people yelling when they're hurt. He's used to confrontation. He's used to someone always coming back, always explaining, always fighting to be understood. So when none of that happens, when your side of the phone stays dark and your name doesn't pop up on his screen, it feels like fresh air. But it's not real peace. It's empty. It's quiet, but not calm. It's silence with weight. He doesn't realize it yet, but that silence is the start of something. It's the shift, the first domino. He doesn't feel the full impact on day one because he's still distracted by the noise of his own pride. He's thinking, she'll be back. She always comes back. That thought gives him comfort. That thought lets him sleep at night. He tells himself she just needs time to cool off. And that's how he lets himself off the hook. He believes in the old patterns so much that he doesn't even question what's really going on. But something's already different, and deep down, a small part of him can sense it. He just won't admit it yet. Day one gives him false confidence. He doesn't know that silence doesn't end things. Silence begins the unraveling. Silence is the seed, and the consequences are growing. But on day one, he's still smiling, he's still sure. He's still blind to the fact that something has changed, not around him, within you. That silence isn't just distance, it's decision. He just hasn't felt it fully yet. Day three, his ego starts to question. The silence that once felt like a break now starts to feel like a weight. He checks his phone more often, scrolling through old messages, looking for signs, trying to find comfort in your last words. But the comfort's not there anymore. It's been too long, too quiet, too still. Something about the pattern is off. You're not reacting, you're not chasing, you're not giving him the emotional energy he's used to, and now his ego, once so loud and certain, starts whispering doubts he can't ignore. He starts asking himself questions he doesn't want to ask. Did she really walk away this time? Is she actually done? Why hasn't she said anything? That ego, the same one that told him you'd be back, now starts turning on him. He replays your last conversation in his head, trying to find clues, trying to justify his side, but nothing sounds as good now as it did in the moment. Now, in the silence, his words echo differently. They sound colder, harsher, more careless. He starts to wonder if maybe he pushed you too far. He tells himself not to care, tells his friends he's fine, puts on the same front, but behind that, he's unsettled. The silence is messing with his rhythm. It's not loud, but it's heavy. It's not angry, but it's final. He starts to remember the little things you did, the things he brushed off, the support you gave without being asked, the presents he took for granted. He starts to realize how much space you held in his life, and now that space is empty. By day three, he hasn't admitted he's wrong, but the idea that he might be, it's creeping in. He's not ready to take accountability, but he's starting to feel uncomfortable in his own confidence. The ego that once said, "She needs me," is now wondering, "What if I needed her?" He's not reaching out yet, but he's thinking about it. He's watching your silence like it's a locked door, and he doesn't have the key. That ego, once proud and unshaken, is starting to feel something it hates to feel: uncertainty. Day 5, the silence turns into a mirror. By now, it's no longer just about you not calling or texting. It's deeper than that. It's reflection time, and it hits him when he least expects it. Maybe it's while he's brushing his teeth. Maybe it's a song on the radio. Maybe it's when he sees your name still saved in his phone, untouched for days. He starts to look at himself differently, and for the first time, your silence makes him look inward instead of out. He begins to see his own patterns, the things he said, the things he didn't say, the way he handled your heart, the way he dismissed your emotions like they were too much. All of that starts coming back, and it doesn't look the way it used to. It doesn't look justified anymore. It looks small. It looks selfish. He starts realizing that while he was out there trying to win arguments, you were trying to keep the relationship alive. He thought silence meant you gave up, but now he's realizing it might have meant you outgrew the noise. And that mirror, it doesn't lie. It doesn't flatter him. It shows him the man he really was, not the one he pretended to be, not the one he told his friends about. It reflects his avoidance, his pride, the way he let something real slip through his fingers while he played it cool. He starts to realize you weren't the weak one for going silent. He was the one too afraid to listen before the silence began. Now, the quiet doesn't feel peaceful anymore. It feels like a question hanging in the air, and the only person who can answer it is the one looking back at him in the mirror. By day 7, regret replaces pride. That silence he once thought was nothing serious now feels deafening. It follows him everywhere: in the morning when he wakes up, in the afternoon when he checks his phone and still sees nothing from you, and at night when it's quiet and the distractions run out. The pride he wore like armor has started to crack, and through those cracks, regret begins to pour in. Regret for what he said, for what he didn't say, for how easy he made it seem like he didn't care when deep down he did, but couldn't show it now. He starts to notice everything you used to do that he never thanked you for, the little things that felt routine but were acts of love, the check-ins, the reminders, the encouragement, the support. He thinks about the way you listened when no one else did, the way you held space for his chaos while you silenced your own pain just to keep peace. He starts to see how much you gave without asking for much in return. Just effort, just respect, just consistency. Things he thought were small now feel massive in your absence. He replays conversations differently now. Back then, he was focused on winning, on proving a point, on being right. Now he hears your tone, not your words. He remembers the disappointment in your voice, not just the content of the argument. He sees your exhaustion. He understands your silence isn't punishment, it's protection. It's what people do when they've tried every other way to be heard and finally realize that quiet is the only thing left. Regret doesn't come all at once. It builds slowly. It starts in the gut, rises to the chest, and settles in the mind. It makes him scroll through old pictures, revisit memories, stare at your last message, wondering why he didn't take it more seriously. He starts drafting texts and deleting them. He wants to say something, but doesn't know how to match the weight of the silence he created. Pride kept him standing, but regret brings him to a place where he finally sees what he lost, not because someone told him, but because your silence showed him better than words ever could. Your absence teaches what your presence couldn't. When you were always there, showing up, reaching out, trying to fix things, he got comfortable. He took your presence for granted because it was consistent. He never had to question if you'd be there, if you'd forgive, if you'd understand one more time. Your love became routine, and routine often turns into entitlement. But when you remove yourself, when your voice, your energy, your effort disappears, it creates a silence that forces reflection. That's when the real lesson begins. See, presence can be invisible to the ungrateful. You are doing the emotional labor, being the support system, carrying the connection, and he didn't even notice how much weight you held until you dropped it. Your presence was like air, necessary but unnoticed. But your absence, that's like a vacuum. It pulls at everything. It disrupts the peace he thought he had, It makes him feel the emptiness that used to be filled with your attention, your love, your forgiveness, your patience. People don't always hear you when you're explaining yourself, but they notice when you stop. Your silence becomes the loudest thing in the room. It echoes in his routine. It shows up in the spaces you used to occupy. He starts remembering the little things you did, the way you listened, the way you cared, the way you showed up without being asked. And he starts realizing he was never entitled to any of it. That's the lesson your absence teaches, that love was a gift, not a guarantee. It wasn't his to misuse or take lightly. Your presence tried to teach him with words, with actions, with consistency. But your absence, that teaches him with consequence.